Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Boy, did things happen yesterday. June 1st, the NFL is like, you know what? We haven't had news in a while. We've had some bad things going on, which we'll talk about, some players going to jail and things of that nature. But man, we haven't had some good stuff. Let's just break everything on June 1st. This post June 1st little contract negotiation stuff that you can get money off your cap spread out throughout the years, and it's so much fun. A lot to get into with that, so I think we should just dive right in and jump right into Myles Garrett, who is now a Ram. So we went back and forth in our chat on this, and some other people were involved as well. But my first reaction was, boy, the Rams sure do love to go, as we call, full Rams and just go all in for Super Bowl years. The Rams got better this year in this trade. So the trade was they receive Myles Garrett, they send out Jared Verse, a 2027 first, 2028 second, and 2029 third. The Rams got better this year. And Matthew Stafford signed a 1 year extension this year. So he's on the books for 2 more years, 2 more seasons of Stafford with Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams probably has 1 or 2 more years left of good wide receiver play because he's getting up there in age. And Myles Garrett is a better player than Jared Verse. So on paper, the next 2 years, the Rams are going full, let's get ourselves another title mode. And I mean, if there's no injuries, knock on all the wood for the Rams, the next 2 years, they're probably the favorites to win it all. Now, going to after the next 2 years, the Browns have a really good future ahead of them. They have 2 first round picks in next year's draft, which, by all accounts, from everyone talking about it, is going to be a deep draft all across the board, especially for quarterbacks. We'll see if they draft a quarterback next year. They got Jared Verse, who is a really good player, up and coming player. And from what I know about him and what I've heard is he is going to be extremely upset, ticked off, and motivated. So the Browns are going to get a very, very motivated player. He's not on the Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons level, at least right now. Could he get there? Potentially. I kind of see him as his ceiling has kind of been met because not a lot of people realize is he's going to turn 26 this year. He's he's kind of going into his peak of his career, kind of a thing, where I don't know how much more he will improve. He might, but he's going to turn 26, and by the time his rookie contract is up and he has to be re-signed, he's going to be 29. Trey Hendrickson is 28 right now, so it's just he was a little bit older for a prospect. So I don't know if he can truly improve, but he is a top 10 edge rusher right now. So I don't know if he super needs to be a really good impact player.
Trey
So
Hendricks is 31.
what's that?
Trey Hendricks is 31 right now.
Well, yeah, right. I meant he was 28 when he had his new deal. When he had his big deal with the Bengals, he was 28 when he
Okay.
signed that. Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
apologize for that. Yeah, apologize for that. But I don't know if Jared Verse is going to truly improve, but I don't know if he super needs to because he's a top 15 to top 10 edge rusher in this league right now. He's not top two like Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons, 1, 2, wherever you want to go there. But he is a really good player. He is a star player. I wouldn't say he's superstar mode, but he's a star player. And now you have good draft picks. So the Browns, they've been drafting well the past couple of years, and now they have more ammunition in next year's draft to go get whoever they need to get, whether it be quarterback, defensive player, offensive player, whatever it is. Their future looks good, and the Rams' present looks outstanding to where it's almost like not fair. It's almost like you're playing Madden, and they just, yeah, let's improve our 89 or 90 overall Jared Verse to a 99 overall Myles Garrett, and let's just go win a Super Bowl. That's kind of what they did. And so I kind of see both sides of it. The Rams are mortgaging a little bit of their future to go get a title right now. And the Browns were like, why do we have Myles Garrett on our roster, who I think is 29 this year or 30, something like that. Why do we have him on our roster making a ton of money when we have no shot at anything right now? We're rebuilding. So let's continue to rebuild. So I understand both sides. And I am scared to see what the Rams can do this year. I would not want to be the NFC West right now. Like the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers are like, wait, what? They did what? Oh boy. So that was my initial reaction to Myles Garrett going to LA.
Yeah, I think it's a big move. Um, and it's got a lot of potential. And I know we're somewhat on different sides on this. Sorry. Okay. I think the part that I'm struggling with is it felt like an overpay to me. That's
Okay.
how I look at it and see it. It's, if it's a first round pick in Jared Verse, I agree with that trade. I think that that's a fair trade, and I think it's, if you still want to throw out a fifth, a sixth, but the second and third along with it to me was it's just too steep. And like, when people keep throwing out this example that Sauce Gardner went for more
Mm.
than Myles Garrett, that's so misleading. I mean, okay, have you heard about their cornerback that they traded for since that, or wide receivers that they traded for since that trade? Did anything happen, or was it a
Hmm.
nothing burger? Well, I'd say it was a nothing burger and did nothing to prove anything. Um, so I get a little annoyed by this idea um, that Cleveland might have gotten underpaid. I don't know. I think that people tend to look at players too much and think, oh my gosh, look how good they have been their whole career.
Hmm.
They're going to just be amazing the rest of their career. There's no such thing as a drop off. It will not happen. It, the drop off happens. It happens at some point and you don't know when. And the reality is that for especially defensive and offensive linemen, when you get to the age 30, the likelihood that they'll drop off increases substantially. Um, we talked about the Eagles, right, with Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson. They're not even 30, and they might have already got hit their drop off because of just the fact that they have injuries. And I know that Myles Garrett hasn't had injuries. I just think, um, sorry,
God bless you. Times two. Oh, times three.
sorry, my allergies have been going a little bit, but
Oh no.
man, what a horrible timing.
You're just
Um,
allergic to this trade talk. You're allergic to the price of Myles Garrett trade
I
acquisition.
I just
That's
I
what it
feel like
is.
it's such a steep trade. I don't know. It's a lot. If I was the Browns, I am like on cloud nine. I can't believe someone's given me a first, second, and a third, and Jared Verst to take Myles Garrett. I would never have thought that that would have happened. Um, I guess that like maybe that's the part I'm frustrated about is it's like I think people are approaching this trade like, oh yeah, this is what you'd have to give up, and I feel like the Rams got bullied a little bit. I don't know if they necessarily were as disciplined as they should have been on the trade. Does
Mm.
that make sense where I'm coming from?
Yeah. I hear you. And this is just what the Rams do. That's why initially I was like, yeah, the price tag, I don't, it didn't affect me as much because this is what they do. They went and traded like a first and change to get Jalen Ramsey back in the day, and they won a Super Bowl because of that. So they didn't care that they don't have draft picks, and they don't usually draft in the first round. Some of their best players, Puka Nacua, fifth round pick. So they do the draft a little bit differently. They don't even go to the combine. They just look at the film and look at GPS data and stuff like that. So they do the draft a little bit differently. So they see draft picks at a different value than the rest of the league, and to what I've my understanding.
Hmm.
And so I do hear where you're coming from that the Browns did get a decent haul, but there are 2 points that I would slightly counter just the extreme cost of it. And one is the second and third round pick were in the next year's drafts. And normally, when people think about that, they think of the value of the next year's draft as a round later than the current draft. So, for example, 2028, it was a second round pick. So the value would be a third round pick in 2027. And then 2029, it was a third round pick. So the value would be a fourth round pick in 2027. So they kind of traded a first, third, and fourth in next year's draft and Jared Verse instead of a first, second, and third. So that the value is a little bit different than just the sticker price of 1, 2, 3 because of the later years. Now, if they traded their first round pick in next year's draft, which that value is higher according to all these draft experts out there. And the other piece that I was going to slightly counter to, and I mentioned this in the chat, was the Micah Parsons trade value. It's close. I think that this value was a little higher than a Michael Parsons trade value, a little bit. But for Micah Parsons, they got 2 first round picks, and they got oh man, I can't remember his name
Kenny
anymore.
Clark.
Yeah, Clark from the D lineman from the Packers. So the way I was looking at it, I was trying to compare it out to where I could see Jared Verse value right now because he hasn't gotten double digit sacks. It's been like 8, 9 sacks and good amount of pressures. I can see his value being a first round pick. And then I could see Kenny Clark's value probably is just a third, maybe a fourth. So that sticker of second and third compared to Kenny Clark, that's a little bit of discrepancy there, but it's close-ish. And Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett are like
I
the
mean, but
same
let's be
value of
fair here,
player.
though. Kenny Clark got 3 sacks last year, 1 sack the year before.
But
That's
he's
not
also
great.
D tackle. D tackles don't really get those numbers as edge rushers do.
I mean, I would disagree with that. It depends on the defensive tackle we're talking about. Jalen Carter's certainly better than that. Aaron Donald was better than that. Like you're just
Aaron Donald was a different guy. He was a different beast.
I think the reality is this Kenny Clark is just not nearly as good as Jared Verse. I think that's the
Oh
truth.
no, for sure, 100%. But that's why I was saying that Jared first was compared to the first round pick, the extra first round pick, and then Kenny Clark is probably more like a third or a fourth. So that second round pick value is the difference to where to me Myles Garrett's trade got a second round pick addition to the Michael Parsons trade and a second round pick in 2 years from now. So maybe a third in that value range. But so the Myles Garrett trade was a little bit more expensive, but it wasn't like astronomical. That's all I was saying with that. And again, the Rams, they don't care. They're like, you want a second or a third? Sure. We'll just draft a stud in the fourth round and we'll have a really good team continuing on. The only part that I disagree with is the Ty Simpson thing, but that's a different story. We'll see if they're right and everyone in the world is wrong because they kind of know what they're doing in the draft. They've done it every year where they just find these steals, these gems in the fourth, fifth, sixth round, and they don't draft in the first. That's just what the Rams do. That was my point in this. So the sticker price, yes, it was a little high. Other teams probably wouldn't have paid that much, but it's the Rams. I don't think they really care.
Yeah, I guess the part that I just stuck on is that I just think that there's this notion that now they're going to win the Super Bowl. I just don't think that's accurate. I think the Rams are a good team, but I think it's foolish to go into the season thinking, oh, the Rams are just going to win a hand of the trophy. I don't see that way. I think they've got an
Hmm.
uphill battle against them. I still think the NFC West is a legitimate division that's going to be really,
Hmm.
really tough. I think people are sleeping on the Dallas Cowboys. And the
Hmm.
only question I have is, do they get George Pickens in the fold and happy again? I think the Eagles are right there competing. You've got the NFC North that's going to be stacked, and the Detroit Lions. You know, we ended up on this different sides on this, but the Lions schedule favors a bounce back
Hmm.
and being more competitive and in a position to make a good playoff run. And I still think they have a good
Absolutely.
team.
I have them
Um,
winning the division. So yeah,
I just, like, so for example, right? Like looking at the Los Angeles Rams schedule right now, they
it's
go
crazy.
they go to Australia and play where am I looking at this? They play the 49ers in Australia. I don't know if that's a win. especially because it's in Australia. You're not at home. It's going to be a tough battle. And the 49ers are going to be highly motivated. And it's the beginning of the season 49ers, which is different than end of season 49ers. That's a potential loss. Week 3, you got the Broncos. I think that's a potential loss. Eagles, we went back and forth on this. And, eventually I said Rams, but that's a potential loss. Okay, so that's 3 potential losses. Then you got the Bills. I think that's a potential loss. Okay, maybe the next 2 games you're fine. Chargers, I don't know. We'll see what the Chargers are going to be, but the Chargers like to charge in the opposite direction. So, maybe 5. And then you got the Packers. Is that a loss in the Thanksgiving Eve game? Um, and then you got the Chiefs. And then you got the 49ers again. I mean, we're already at 7 games. And then you got the Cowboys 8. You got the Seahawks. We haven't even said the Seahawks yet. And then you got the Buccaneers. And then you got the Seahawks again. That's a very tough schedule.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, I see a world where the Rams underachieve because the cliff is real. There's no guarantee that. And look at it. Look at Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers had his MVP seasons, but since those MVP seasons, has he played like an MVP? I think most people would say no. I think that most people would say he's not playing like a top 5 quarterback. Is he still confident? Is he still capable? Sure. I just all these questions pop up in my mind as far as when does the cliff hit? And if the
Hmm.
cliff hits sooner than people think it does, then they're going to look really stupid for committing these trades. And I think it's dumb to say that just because the Matthew Stafford trade worked out, that making these risky moves is a smart decision. Do it again. Like that's my ultimate point.
Yeah, and you're coming from the Howie Roseman school, which is a totally different school. Howie Roseman trades in a different way where he always does his best to win the trade according to every eye on it. And the Rams just don't care. They had the motto of F them picks kind of thing. And
It's true.
that's just what they do. And to their credit, it was successful for 1 year. That was 1 year. What, like 5 years ago, whatever that was, they won the Super Bowl.
6 years ago, I think.
6 years ago. Yeah, however long that was. I think it was it the COVID year? I don't know. But anyway, they won the
It
Super
was the
Bowl.
year, oh, maybe it was 5 years ago. It was 2021.
And I just remember the game against the Bengals. The Bengals had almost no shot. They came back and tried to win it, and then Aaron Donald with that
Oh,
sack
it
at the
was
end.
4 years ago. So it was 2022.
Okay. But but yeah, so it's worked for them in the past. This is their strategy, and we'll see if it can have success. I would say that on paper, they have the most talented team now. And
I,
we did our rankings last week, and we had them both at 1, and that was with Jared Verse. And now they went from Jared Verse to Myles Garrett, which is an improvement, especially this year and next year. Now for the future, different story. Jared Verse could be a better player than Myles Garrett in 4 years because Myles Garrett might be retired. Who knows? But this year and next year, Myles Garrett is an improvement over Jared Verse. And is it huge? To be determined. But it definitely is an improvement. So they're a better team today than they were 2 days ago before this trade.
yeah, I hear you. I understand you. A part of me just feels like this could end up being like the OKC Thunder type trade, where you trade a player back that you think versus at a ceiling, there's no chance, but then that player ends up becoming someone that is far better than you thought they could be. I mean,
It's too
when
early to talk about OKC. It's too early.
you guys, or I should say we, because I am a Thunder fan, they're just not my diehard team of the NBA.
Right. Not your number one.
But they, we won an NBA Finals, man. You
Yeah,
can't cry.
100%. 100%. 100%. And I said that last year. I said, hey, we got one. That's really all we need for the next like 20, 30 years. So thank you for the one. It was just hard to see a team lose that close when 2 of their main guys were out. It's like, man, that really hurts that 2 of their main guys were out because if they were in, I don't see them losing game 1 in double overtime, but especially not game 7. But is what it is. Congrats to the Spurs. Spurs Knicks should be fun.
Yeah. it'll be a good game. I mean, I think the Knicks have a very big advantage. A 3 game rest compared to the Spurs will
Well,
be a
they've been chilling for a week,
right. Which I
which
mean, I guess
that
it
could
could,
be. Yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
say what I was gonna say. Could be beneficial, or could you might have some rust in game one. We'll see.
yeah. But if this series goes to like a game 6 or 7, I think the advantage goes to the Knicks from the rest. We'll see.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say that beginning of the series, it might kind of lean Spurs' favor because they're in rhythm. They just played, but then, like you said, going toward if it gets to like a 6 or 7, then that's Knicks' advantage because they're gonna be full of energy, probably healthy, and the Spurs are gonna be exhausted.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. Um,
Hmm.
it's an interesting NBA Finals. I think it's the best draw that they've had, and I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
trying to think of the last series where I felt like it was going to be competitive, but I think this one will be a good series. I think there's a good potential.
Yeah, probably all the way since Steph against LeBron.
Probably, yeah. I think that that's fair. I mean, I'd say that the Raptors Golden State Warriors series was a good one. If it wasn't
Hmm.
for the Durant injury, that one would have been interesting to see how it played out.
Hmm.
But that really did change the course of that series. Just
Hmm.
made it impossible for them to be able to still be as competitive. But yeah, no, I agree with you. So this is
Is that
my
all for the Miles Garrett, or do you
I
have
did
more to
have
talk
one more
about?
question because
Okay.
I think we're going to be on
Yes.
opposite sides about this. But let's say in 5 years from now, who wins this trade?
Well, if the Rams get one more ring within the next 5 years, Rams. Rings are all that matter. But now if the Rams don't within the next 5 years, and then I'll add the stipulation that Jared first has to be at least gotten one all pro in the next 5 years, which he has the potential. He could. Then Browns win the trade. And they have to draft well, but they have been recently. So I would assume that that's going to continue. But if the Rams get one ring, doesn't matter what the Browns do. Rams win the trade because they got another ring. It's so hard to get that in this league.
Yeah, that's fair. I just I don't know. I'm interested. I feel like I feel different about Jared first compared to many other people, which feels weird to me. I know the stats are not Garrett's, and I'm not trying to imply he's Garrett. I just
Hmm.
that is not a player I would have traded if I was the Rams. I mean, it just and maybe that's the ultimate thing that bugs me. I don't think
Hmm.
I've touched on it enough. Is that you not only lost the trade in terms of giving up a future asset that's really important to your team, you then lost considerable draft assets. To me, I feel like you had to put down one foot or one way or the other. Either you give up more draft assets to keep Verse, or you say, no, I gave you Verse. I am not giving you an additional second and third. Like, come back to me with a different counter offer. I just feel
Hmm.
like the NFL knew this trade was going to happen for a while.
Yeah, it
It
did.
was it was obvious, which to me makes me
Hmm.
more angry with the Rams because it's like I don't know how you live in a world where you're this happy. I don't, we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be a very interesting litmus test season. If this falls borderline on San Francisco 49ers thinking to me, where
Hmm.
you're willing to take the short term gains and the long term pain, and when Matthew Stafford leaves, it could be a long time before the Rams are competitive again.
I
Um,
agree. Unless somehow they know something we don't about Ty Simpson. We'll see. I don't know. I don't see
yeah,
it. That's the one move they've made in the past few years. I'm like, what? The 13th overall pick, you had the chance to draft like Makai Lemon, or you had the chance to draft some superior defensive players. I think Caleb Downs was still there. What are we doing? Okay. Anyway, so they saw something that some no one else did. We'll see if they were right.
I mean, I do love the moves they made. I mean, Trent McDuffie is a great like I and see that's the part that I get frustrated about is the Trent McDuffie trade was a great move. It was great. That was not an overpay. It was a fair
Hmm.
trade. Um, in fact, I'm trying to remember what they paid for McDuffie.
I think it was the 29 overall, straight up.
No, it was more than that. It was a 2026 first, 2026 fifth, 2026 seventh or sixth, and a 2027 third.
Okay.
So that was a steep trade. And I feel like to me, I'm of the opinion that okay, if you really don't like draft picks, then give up the draft picks.
Hmm.
Don't go trade Jared Verse in this trade to go get McDuffie because then it's a lateral move and your team getting better. And that's like the part that I'm frustrated about this trade is like you laterally get better, and we'll see how it works out. Like, okay, you got Myles Garrett, who's on the other side. That's going to be the one that bringing the pressure. I don't know. I'm not saying it won't work out, but I just think the the Jared versus Myles Garrett combo would have been elite. And
Oh,
like
that would have been
looking,
terrifying.
but look at what the Packers did with Micah Parsons. They didn't give up Rashawn Gary last year. They kept him because they knew that it would be an awesome duo to be able to get pressure on the other team. Now Gary's gone. And if they don't get Josh Sweat, which is the rumor, it's
Hmm.
a really big hole to fill, and they're gonna have a big problem. Now, if they get Josh Sweat, then I think that the Packers might be better positioned than they were last season.
Hmm.
I think Josh Sweat is that good of a player, and Jonathan Gannon is his defensive coordinator of choice. He's followed him wherever. He's in Philadelphia, then they went to Arizona, and now potentially maybe in Green Bay together. That to me
Yeah.
would be a good move. But I just that's my question when I look at this move is I guess you have Byron Young. I should give Byron Young some credit here. I just Jared Verse to me was the best edge rusher prior to Garrett,
For
and you
sure.
gave him
For
up,
sure.
and I question how this is going to work out. We'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. It's just going to be an interesting world.
Yeah. 2026 is going to be a fun year, wild ride. We'll see if the Rams can put it together. They were close last year. Sam Darnold beat them in the playoffs. So they thought we got to rush that passer better. And I remember that game against the Seahawks. Jared Verse didn't really do anything. He had a bunch of
He did have one
close.
sack. He did have a
That's
sack.
one sack, but you need more whenever Sam Darnold's picking you apart. Because I'll give credit to Sam in that game. He picked the Rams apart in that game. And so what do? They go get Trent McDuffie and they get a better pass rusher because they know the Seattle Seahawks beat them. So that's
I,
what you do as a team. You get beat by
uh-huh.
a team, you do something to make sure you're better to battle them again next year.
I mean, my argument would be to that though is that they didn't have Jalen Watson and they didn't have Trent McDuffie last year. I think that was their ultimate issue. They could
Sure.
not cover the Seahawks receivers. And it doesn't matter how good your edge rush is. If the receivers are open, then it's going to be very difficult to beat that team.
Unless your pass rush can get there in under 3 seconds.
I think it's tough to always count on that. You're going to
No,
face
you
some
can't
really
count on that
tough.
for sure. But Myles Garrett has that capability to where he's got to be double teamed all the time. And so Byron Young will be one on one. Go get him. Or a lot of times Myles Garrett can break the double team. So I just think they got better overall. And we'll see how they do this year.
Yeah, it's fair.
Okay. So do we want to touch on I don't think we should touch on both guys because we have some more stuff to talk about with Vikings and Eagles world because there was another big trade that happened yesterday. June 1st was crazy. Um, but I think we should because this is for real happening. Josh Jacobs, they're still investigating, so it might not be fully decided yet on his situation where he got arrested and all those charges. He got released. There's more investigations to come. So maybe we touch on that at a different time when it's actually official what's going on. But Rashee Rice is 100% official. He's in jail right now for 30 days, starting, I think, May 20th. And on top of that, he just had a procedure done in his knee, so he's going to be rehabbing while he's in jail. I don't know what's wrong with this kid. And I feel old by calling him a kid, but he is a kid. Um, he just
I think it's because he behaves like a kid.
that too. I mean, to my opinion, he was on thin ice going into this year. He is a really good player. If you're just talking about play on the football, he is I wouldn't want to say he's elite, but he's a really good receiver as far as just strictly football field game day. But outside of that, I'm cutting him. I'm cutting him right now because, again, I say you were on thin ice and then it ends up you're being arrested for what happened, I think in 2024. You're in jail for 30 days. No, I'm I'm cutting ties right now. Once that was announced, I'd have released him. I know that makes the Chiefs a worse team because their wide receiver room is kind of thin-ish. Xavier Worthy is a really nice player, but he's not a polished receiver. He's kind of a one-trick pony. And Rashee Rice was a great compliment. And without him, they don't have a lot behind that. But still, I don't want him on my team. I would cut him right now because this is just nope. I'm done. You had your chance, and I'm similar with Jordan Addison. If he has any off the field issues this year, bye. We're trading you. Whatever we got to do, we'll take a fourth round pick. I don't care. You're not on my team anymore because I can't trust you. Because last year, going back to Addison, when we were in Dublin, we couldn't find him. He didn't make our practices, didn't make our meetings, and so he was suspended for the first half of that Steelers game. I don't know. It was the Steelers or the Browns? Might have been the Browns game. I'm not sure, but anyway, he was suspended for that first half. In that same season, he had police called on him because he was at a casino at a restaurant complaining about something, and those charges got dropped. It was nothing, but still, no, cannot do that. And so with the Rashee Rice situation, you're literally in jail as we speak. I can't have that on my team. I would cut ties right now. And I would think about, if I was the Chiefs, maybe buying low on a Brandon Ayuk because he's still in the Niners. The Niners will take anything because they're going to just probably end up cutting him because it's post June 1st now. So they're probably going to cut him. I would say, hey, we'll send you a fourth round pick. Get him off your books. We'll take him. And then we'll cut Rashee Rice. Because Brandon Ayuk, he has his issues, but it's mainly internally in the organization and the coaching staff. Different coaching staff with the Chiefs. Maybe he'll get in line a little bit better.
Mhm.
And I think he's on a similar playing level as Rashee Rice. Really good receiver, not elite, but a really good receiver. So it's almost like a one-for-one replacement. They're different playing styles, but as far as the value of the player, that's what I would do. I'm I'm out on Rashee Rice. I'm done. I would cut him and I would see if you can get Brandon Ayuk or maybe even sign Debo Samuel for this year. He's fine. He can still get the job done for one more year possibly. But Rashee Rice, this is insane. I don't know what's wrong with him. Hopefully he gets the help he needs as just a human being. But I can't have him on my team anymore. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, you already know how I feel about Rashee Rice. I thought that the NFL should have suspended him last year, and to be fair, I'm disappointed the NFL did not take action. Um,
Oh, they will now.
yeah, I mean, maybe they will. I honestly think that the biggest complaint I have about Roger Goodell is he's too inconsistent.
That is fair. That is
He's
fair.
too inconsistent. I still think he came out light against Deshaun Watson.
Hmm.
Um, I think he should have litigated that out all the way and taken it to a full season. And I think he was a little wimpy and caved in because the fact that he knew it was going to be litigated. But so we'll see what happens there on that front. But he needs to be more firm on things. The
Yeah.
fact that
Yeah.
to me, it was over when there was the video posted of Rashee Rice walking away from the vehicle he just crashed in on a
Sure.
freeway.
Yeah.
That was the final like, no, you don't get away from this with no suspension. This is an embarrassment. The
Hmm.
fact that there was weapons in the vehicle, um, his playbook in the car, which to me is just astounding. One, why would you
Hmm.
have your playbook in the car for an activity like that? Two,
Hmm.
where are your priorities? I don't know, man. That's the hard part
Yeah.
about sports is that you're taking these people that have never really been forced to become mature and you're
Hmm.
putting them in an environment where they have to be mature if they're going to win.
Hmm.
Um, there's a great clip by Tom Brady. I don't know if you saw it, but he talked about why there are practice squad players that just become eternal practice squad players in his view. And in his view, he felt like the talent between, let's say, your third and second stringers and practice squad players was typically not that different. Practice squad players could do things that would amaze you and impress you, but they got comfortable. And that when they were put in positions where they needed to give more energy and more time and study more film, they weren't willing to hit that next level.
Hmm.
And so they would falter when they would be asked to do more. And I think that that's kind of what we're seeing with Rashee Rice is he is just not capable at this time of doing more. And I think the Chiefs are sending the wrong message by continuing to stand behind him. It's their
Hmm.
choice. It's their
Hmm.
team. Um, I just think it's unfortunate. A lot of people like to embrace the Michael Vick story, and they always talk about Michael Vick coming back and cleaning things up. And here's the bottom line: I'm not going to try to argue here how at fault or not at fault Michael Vick was for the whole dog scandal.
Hmm.
But the truth is that Michael Vick took ownership. He took 100% ownership and changed completely the type of person that he was following that incident. And those people are really easy to get behind. And we've never seen that from Rashee Rice. It's never happened. It's
Yeah.
never occurred. And so it makes it hard to buy in and say, I believe you can change. I think that's the ultimate thing that we're really, I think fans struggling with what Rashee Rice is doing right now is he's continuing to just take chance after chance after chance and ask for another chance. And at some point, the well's got to run out. It's got to run
Yeah.
dry, and you got to struggle for a little bit. But it's unfortunate. But lack of discipline for sure is a huge impact
Hmm.
on how successful you can be in your any career, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you could be the best player on the field in the whole league. But if you're doing this, you're not going to be on the field because this jail time stems from that car crash in Dallas in 2024 that I
right,
don't think he fully got in trouble for. So now he's in jail for it. So I don't think Roger Goodell can avoid this. He's going to need to be suspended. Is that 3 games? Is that 4 games? Is that like a slap on the wrist thing? Possibly. I would love it if he got suspended for the entire year. That might prove a point.
yeah,
It's not going to happen, but that would justify it, I believe.
I
But
think I think we're looking at a 1 to 2 game suspension
yeah,
at most.
yeah, a slap on the wrist kind of thing. But if I'm the Chiefs, nope. Bye. Good
You know
luck
what
in
I
your
wish it would
future.
do? This is something I wish that the NFL would work on. They should change it to where you're not suspended 1 to 2 games. You're suspended 1 to 2 games that are the most important games. I
Hmm.
wish they could do that because I think
Or
that would be more painful.
I had a different thought. What if, hey, you can play your games, but we're taking your full salary this year. Go play. Have fun. But you're not getting paid for it. Like really hurt them in their where it counts. Because I know when they get suspended 2 games, they do lose those paychecks, but that's only 2 paychecks. Let them play, but literally hit them in their wallet. And like for this instance, take 2026 pay salary from Rashee Rice and let him play if he wants.
Yeah, I don't know. They got to do something different because
Hmm.
yeah, the inconsistency for disciplining is frustrating. It
Agreed.
is. It's an issue. It's always been a problem. We've talked
Hmm.
about this since the Deshaun Watson issue or incident, and um, yeah, it's just frustrating. One thing I will say is I am impressed by teams such as the Eagles that have, for the most part, done a really good job of not having players that are distractions.
Hmm.
Um, Man, I'm trying to think of his name. I think it was there was an Eagles player that got in trouble for um, carrying a weapon.
Mm.
Yeah, Josh Huff, um, but got arrested and got immediately kicked off the team. He was the kick returner for the Eagles. But yeah, I just think you got to be very disciplined. You've got
Mm-hmm.
to put your foot down and say, this isn't acceptable. You cannot do
Mm-hmm.
this. No
Yep.
double standards. Hold everyone accountable. But yeah, I think that I've beaten the dead horse here on Rashee Rice.
Well, we'll see what happens. Um, well, I don't know if there's much else to talk about on that. I know we have some more some more trade talk to talk about because I know you got to get something off your chest um, to see how you truly feel about a certain player and the value you got back. So we should get to that. I don't have anything else on these two subjects. Do you have anything else to talk about on Garrett or Rice?
Um, I don't think so. We're getting closer towards mini camps and
Hmm.
training camp talk. It's just around the corner. It's going to be here before we know it. So,
Absolutely. So basically, when the NBA Finals hits, it's football season.
that does, I'll ask you this. Do you think that the NFL, do you think they can do this because of the fact that they're just such a popular American sport? Or do you think that other leagues just don't manage their calendar year as efficiently and well as the NFL does?
I think it's a mix of both. I think it's a mix of both because the NFL is the most popular sport in America. Not across the world, of course, but in America it is. And they do such a great job of marketing pretty much every month of the year because they play the least. They play for 5 months because it's such a physical sport. And to make players available every year, they only play for 5 months, but it's a year-round talk with the Senior Bowl, with scouting players in February, with the scouting combine in March, and then late April the draft and schedule release in May, then mini camps and OTAs in June, and then July training camp, August preseason. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They have every month of the year. The biggest lull is after the draft and before OTAs. So that's why they slapped the schedule release in there. We got to keep talking about our sport. It'll only be a talker for a couple days, but hey, we got to talk about it. So they threw the schedule release in May. So they know what they're doing. I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just curious, how does the rest of things shape out? Because um, hockey's definitely on the trend up
Hmm.
from what I'm seeing. I definitely would say that, especially with their ESPN deal, they are on the up
Hmm.
in terms of popularity. So, what does that mean for baseball? What does that mean for basketball? Um, it'll be interesting. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I guess that's just a random question, but yeah, that's all for me, man.
All right. All right. Well, we'll get to Vikings and Eagle stuff next. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and we will see you next time.
We'll see everybody.